Aleppo became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1986. The criteria for registration as a World Heritage Site: outstanding global value. Aleppo is located at the main passage of many commercial routes from the 2nd millennium BC. It was ruled by the Hittites, Assyrians, Akkadians, Greeks, Romans, Umayyads, Ayyubids, Mamluks, and Ottomans. The citadel, which was built in the 12th century, the Great Mosque, the various schools that originated between the 16th and 17th centuries, houses, khans, and public bath, which is called now Turkish bath, represent a coherent group that forms part of the city and the unique urban fabric. The ancient Aleppo citadel. Up from the citadel, you can see the markets, mosques, and religious schools in the entire walled-old city. Is evidence of Arab defense power from the 12th to the 14th century, in addition to the remains of civilization dating back to the 10th century BC. The citadel contains the remains of mosques, palaces, public baths, and buildings. The walled city that arose around the citadel bears all evidence of the early planning of the Greco-Roman street. With its remains of 6th century Christian buildings, the walls, medieval gates, mosques, and Ayyubid and Mamluk religious schools represent the development of the city in the Ottoman era. The criteria too show the uniqueness of the traditional cultural heritage or civilization that has ceased to exist or is still alive. The ancient city of Aleppo reflects rich and diverse cultures, respectively bearing the influence of many periods of history on its architectural fabric. We find remains and elements of the Hittites, Hellenistic, Roman, Byzantine, and Ayyubid civilization in its huge citadel. There's a diverse mixture of buildings including the Umayyad Grand Mosque and the remains of 12th century Halawiya school. That includes the Christian Aleppo Cathedral, along with other mosques as well as schools, markets, and khans, all of which constitute an exceptional reflection of the social, cultural, and economic aspects of a city that was once one of the richest cities for all mankind.
Aleppo became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1986. . to be a witness to the architecture, building, or natural sites that represent human history during a specific stage. Aleppo is a prominent example of the Ayyubid 12th century city, with military fortification constructed as a point of contact after Salah ad-Din's victory over the Franks. The castle's moat and its massive sloping defensive wall, built of carved stone, and the large gate all form a major group of military architecture at the height of Arab power against Western invaders. The main features of the ancient city still reflect the exceptional global value of the site. The property's boundaries follow the city wall line, although the citadel still dominates the city. But some projects in the area had a detrimental effect on its visual integrity, in addition to some other interventions that occurred before registration. Therefore, the coherence of the remains of the urban fabric must be respected, and there is a need for ongoing maintenance work. Since the registration, the layout of the old city with regard to the citadel dominating the urban fabric has remained essentially unchanged. Efforts to preserve the ancient city have largely preserved the feature of exceptional global value. It is necessary to observe traditional and historical handicraft and continue commercial activity as a vital component to preserve life in the traditional urban city.
Aleppo is distinctively a commercial city. The strategic location of the city on the Silk Road attracted many residents of all races and beliefs to live in and benefits from its location. Between China and Mesopotamia from the east, Europe from the west, and Egypt in the south. Aleppo contains the largest covered eastern market in the world, with a total area of up to 16 hectares and length up to 13 kilometers. Al-Medina is an active commercial area for important goods, such as silk from Iran, pepper and spices from India, coffee and fabrics coming from Damascus. The city is also home to local industries such as cotton, agricultural products, and Oliver Laurel soap. The traditional soap is very famous in Aleppo. Architecture responses to trade requirements. Most parts of the market were constructed in the 14th century and were named according to the names of trades and professions practiced there, such as the wool market, the gold market, and vice versa. In addition to trade, the market granted to traders and their goods khans located around the markets. The khans also got their name from their positions and the craft of the market located in them. These khans are distinguished by their beautiful fronts, which are fortified with durable wooden doors. Types of commercial buildings in Aleppo. The city also shows the diversity of commercial buildings where there are specialized markets for a profession or types of merchandise, as well as the khans in which trade took place, and al-Qaysariyat, which are workshops specialized in ancient traditional industries in the city, and Hokiden, which is an Armenian word meaning house of the soul, and denotes to Khan, which is a treasure house that's built for Armenian pilgrims on their way to Jerusalem.
At first, I'll talk about architectural response to defensive requirement. The citadel of Aleppo is considered one of the architectural masterpieces among the Islamic castles. The nature hill behind me, on which the citadel was built, has been used for a long time as a fortress or stronghold. The bulk of the main section until today dates back to the period of King Zahir Ghazi, a son of Salah ad-Din. He has ordered to dig that trench to a depth 22 meters. He built the impressive bridge, the castle slopes of soft impregnable stones, the large tower, and the amazing gate designed to prevent the arrival of any enemy that could approach the castle. The gates of Aleppo are an essential and important part of the fence, and from memory of the city, as these gates were the port of the people of Aleppo, through the impenetrable fence that responded to them from the attacks of the invaders throughout the ages. So that it can be said every sword stroke, spear, or catapult shot must have been left trace, hole, or scar on these doors. There are 9 of these doors, 4 of which have ceased to exist, and 5 of them are preserved in the old city. The ancient gates of Aleppo, Bab al-Faraj, Bab al-Hadid, باب أنطاكيا، باب النصر، باب النسرين، باب المقام، باب الجنان، باب الأحمر، باب النيرب. The defensive architecture. The defensive fortification architecture during the Arab era was characterized by many innovations until it reached its climax in fortifying the walls of Aleppo and its majestic citadel, including broken entrances which called Bashura. The city's entrances are characterized by the refracted entrance, which prevents the attacker from using the ram to penetrate the door. Saktat and darts. There are ports overlooking the door, from which burning liquid are poured on the attacking invaders. Defensive tower within the walls, they served as barracks for soldiers and armories.
Building materials and construction techniques in Old Aleppo. As a result of the geographical location of Aleppo within the white limestone, the stones are the main building materials in the old city. This reality imposed the flourishing of profession associated with building stones, such as cutting, carving, and pruning stone in quarries to be suitable for construction. This reality also imposed the use of special architectural forms and methods, such as 3 layers load-bearing stone wall and contracts of various shapes, from simple and intersecting and stone domes for roofing different architectural voids. Aleppo ongoing civilization through history to the present and the risk of losing identity as a result of irresponsible behavior. As a city with an ancient architectural style characterized by roofed markets, khans, public baths and schools, in addition to mosques and churches. The city is an archaeological treasure that needs constant care and maintenance. The city was clearly replanned after the end of the World War II. In 1954, an organizational chart was adopted which proposed the construction of a number of broad boulevards across the city to suit entry into cars. Between the years 1954 and 1983, many of the old neighborhoods were demolished under the pretext for the purpose of expansion, especially in the northern regions such as Bab al-Faraj and Bab al-Jnayn. local community and local authority awareness. However, the growing awareness of the importance of the urban fabric and the value of historical building in the local community and government agencies eventually led to cancellation of the old scheme and to be replaced by a new organizational chart, which launched the idea of preserving the old urban fabric of the ancient Aleppo. This paved the way for UNESCO to include the ancient city of Aleppo as a World Heritage in 1986. The role of international organizations in post-war reconstruction. Several international organizations such as UNESCO, the United Nations Development Programme UNDP, and the Aga Khan Foundation participated with the local authorities and the Directorate of Antiques of Aleppo to rebuild the old city by adding a modern lifestyle to it while preserving the heritage character. The Aga Khan Foundation has cooperated with the Department of Antiques in Aleppo and within the Aga Khan program to protect the ancient city in many works to preserve and rebuild the old city. Infrastructure development projects before and after the war. In the context of the effort made by local authorities and city council since the registration of the old Aleppo as a World Heritage Site in 1986, the infrastructure has been largely developed from water supply, sanitation, electricity, and landline network. These facilities were severely damaged as a result of the war on Syria, where many efforts are being made to restore these facilities as a first step for the reconstruction of the old city.
Reconstruction requirements. In response to the various reconstruction challenges, efforts have been combined between local authorities, local communities, and city council and international organizations such as UNESCO, the Aga Khan, and the UNDP are working on the reconstruction.
The local authorities and city council have granted all possible facilities to the residents of the old city to restore their properties. The local authorities and city council carried out maintenance of the infrastructure as well as the restoration of damaged historic buildings. Support and training programs for the local community were launched in partnership between the local authorities and city council and international organizations.
Restoration projects were launched for some markets in partnership between local community, local authorities, city council, and international organizations.